We'll just give it a few minutes here, wait for everyone to join, then we'll get started.
I still have like four copies of this calendar invite. I can never remember.
Rob, that's because we really, really, really want you to join.
No, it's because I'm incompetent at using Google.
You'll never miss it because you'll have 4 notifications pop up every time.
But at least you have the same Google Meet with all the replica. So that's at least we will not split the people between different meets.
That's actually not true. I was just sitting in a Zoom by myself. Like
every Tuesday and Wednesday morning, I get about 10 emails from that original invite of people accepting. And there's no way to claw that back except it's Carlos actually accepts it every week too. So I don't even know what Carlos is doing.
It could be people on there like Outlook. I think Outlook sometimes has problems with it's funny. So
We could probably go ahead and get started. I'll just kick off real quick with just a couple community updates. I really don't have a ton, so we'll be able to pass it over and can focus on all the other topics. But again, always a reminder, the code of conduct, there's a link to it there in the community meeting. If it's your first time here, welcome. Please join the Slack. That's where all the conversations are happening. There are multiple channels for each SIG that you can join. And if you do need any help, you can ping the community team. That's just the @community team. That's a group of us for any help there. Thanks for everyone. I wasn't here last week, but I did ask for some help on just reviewing the active SIG documentation. So that's all published now to the llm-d repo. There's a sigs.md file that gets synced over to the website, which is now public. And we're just sharing that out publicly so that any new contributors know where to go, where the meetings are, where the docs are, and anything like that. So any updates, feel free to just update the sigs.md in the llm-d repo. That'll get synced over to the public site. So that's all I have on the community side. So I'll pass it over to you, Rob.
All right. Let's see. All right. So first item is open forum. Does anyone have any ad hoc topics they want to discuss today? I have this one. No ad hoc? All right, quiet group today. The one I just wanted to cover is release. We're really aligning around like the progress against like the 3 well-lit paths that we laid out at the beginning of the project. Really great progress across all of these over the course of the past couple of weeks to bring together a lot of the key work streams that are going on in the various SIGs. So we'll have 3 real paths that we're showing progress along. The first is kind of the smart inference scheduling. Actually, we're going to change this back. The smart inference scheduling. This is really intended to be a example of smart load balancing that everyone should have on by default, pretty much in all cases. It's intended to be really a no-brainer in terms of enabling these. And then we're really trying to highlight some of the benefits and improvements that have been made in the upstream projects to enable configurability and some really great improvements on the prefix cache, precise prefix cache awareness, with the KV events and implementing that more natively inside of llm-d. So really great progress along that dimension. We're also going to be highlighting the progress on PD disag. It's been quite a bit of work to get this all hooked up with a bunch of different moving parts. So this will be another one. And then the last will be some progress on the YDP for the DeepSeek style deployments. So we're working over the course of the past week or so to aggregate all these things. Things are getting very close with all the components starting to land, and we'll look to push this out probably tomorrow. And then the other thing I'll just kind of highlight on this as like an overall project is, it definitely highlighted a lot of the like manual work that needed to go to like bring all of the parts together. I think everyone, I don't know if it's a negative, but it's just one of the realities of operating in this SIG structure has meant that I think things have been a little bit disjointed in terms of how all the pieces work together. And so I think, as a big reflection that I have is, we need to do a real sprint to, bring together a lot of the different components into automation in the CI as like an absolutely must do. Otherwise, we're going to be in this manual testing process and having regressions, et cetera, all the time. So that's definitely one big learning for me. And I think we should do a real postmortem next week after we do the release and make some concrete action steps. But yeah, just one thing I'll kind of highlight, and I think we'll have some priority on it. The other thing I'll just mention is, as part of this release, we'll be publishing a new roadmap that's a little bit more precise on the deliverables for 3.0. So I'll try to get a ticket posted for that later today, and definitely would welcome a discussion along those lines, either in Slack or on the issue as well. So let me take a note on that. So other items, Rob, release, postmortem on changes to overall processes to keep things in sync, and then 0.3 roadmap. Okay, cool. So we'll follow up on this in the forum release management for anyone who's involved. We'll get some updates on the action items from yesterday and just make sure we're making progress. All right, let's jump into SIG updates. Greg, do you want to cover installer?
Yeah, no, I mean, not much to say here. We're in the process of the release, and so things are changing to this new paradigm. We are trying to fix an issue where we can have the compatibility between K-Gateway and Istio, and all the examples will work for both. I'm shipping a PR for that this morning. Hopefully it'll make it into release. If not, we can always follow up with that, and each example will say what currently works for it and what doesn't.
To chime in on Istio 1.27 does not yet support GI. Okay, it's in main, but not in the 1.27 release. They're working on their as of yesterday afternoon, they were working on the cherry picking the commits.
We did upgrade to the 1.28 tag for Istio, so I don't know if that changes things.
So Shmuel, they don't have it in the release, only in the main branch Istio?
There was a timing thing. There was a Slack discussion about this yesterday. Apparently there was a timing thing. Istio apparently, right now there are already 1.28 alpha images available. That's simply main. That's simply master. That's apparently what they do. And then eventually they cut a release branch. And then, what's in the release is in that branch. And there was a timing thing where somehow it missed the cut for the release. So, but they're working on it. It should be in there a couple of days. And I imagine shortly. Last time I checked earlier today, the PR was still not merged. I can check again now. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
So Greg, does this mean we need to make any changes? Like, I don't understand how we've been
I think
working with Istio.
I think maybe it's more you can take it with Greg. My understanding is that we need to validate that the change that we need from Istio is indeed in the release of Istio we are using, or it's still waiting for the new release of Istio to be upgraded, or we should have some patch.
So we
right?
bumped,
Shmuel?
we
Correct.
bumped
The
to the
current
1.28. Go ahead. Shmuel, you can go ahead.
the current thing that works for us is a private build that Shane built some time ago. That works. You go to it's actually Istio's staging site where they stage things. In gcr.io/istio.testing, you can find 128 images that work. I spent a lot of time. I spent too much time trying to figure this out, so I finally got to the bottom of it. But as I said, as soon as I
It's that
mentioned it
environment
in the Slack
variable,
channel,
right?
they were. What?
It's
No,
just that
it's
environment
missing
variable.
the code
right,
is
the
not.
1.28.
No, it's in 1.28. You just have to add the environment variable. Although apparently the environment variable is changing, the name is changing. It'll be a little bit different. But it's simply not in the 1.27 release right now. So if you went to Docker or dockerhub.io and got the 1.27 alpha, it's not there. The code is physically not there.
Okay. Let's follow up later,
Okay.
but I
As
think
I said, they're
we'll be
working on
okay.
this. This should happen shortly.
I think we'll be okay as what we have right now for release. We are using the 1.28 alpha tag with the environment variable. And then it sounds like they are cherry picking. They're going to change the 2.7 tag, the stable one. So as soon as those changes land, we should go back to 2.7 and leave the alpha, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've been using a more bleeding edge version of Istio, Greg. Is that right?
I upgraded yesterday to try and get around this issue that we were doing for benchmarking the YDP, where we needed that destination rule, and that was a suggestion that was passed to me by Oslak.
I see.
Right.
I see. So this would allow us to
That's not-
remove the destination rule, basically.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
No. This code makes it so that you can have an HTTP route that references an inference pool. Without that code, that doesn't work at all. It just tells you that it doesn't like your HTTP route because it doesn't know what an inference pool is.
Shmuel, let's take it with Greg and
Yeah,
see
fine.
how to resolve it, okay?
I agree.
All right. Vita, do you want to give update on?
Yeah, I
Um,
think we have done the release changes with a merge of prefix and a cache aware scorer. There was some bug over the weekend, and I think we created a new patch release, and you also created a new release for the inference scheduler. My understanding that now we are good to go with the release candidate we have. And near is echoing. So I guess Itai, Abdullah, if he's here. Anything else we want to update?
Yeah, I think we're good to go. Greg tested everything. We got confirmation, right? Greg?
Yep, everything worked.
Good. And with the Istio part, we will follow up after the meeting, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Tamar, you want to give update on autoscaling?
Yes. Is Abhishek there? Abhishek, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So we are working on integrating the quote unquote real optimizer into the current implementation. So we do have draft PRs up, and then we are working through more changes and building test cases around it.
All right. So just
Question on the autoscaling. Like, do you think that there's like a reasonable target for us to have some like the most basic versions in the like 0.3 like timeline, or do you think this is like, like I'm just curious, like like conceptually, if this is something like we'll be kind of bringing into like the well-lit paths anytime soon, or if like there's a lot more experimentation to do.
So I mean, technically speaking, yes. Like in 2 weeks time frame, we ought to present something that is workable. Um, I'm uh, I'm not sure if it would be integrated with PD kind of deployments. Right now, we are working with deployments that are spawned from like kind deployment inside the Kubernetes.
Yep.
So that's my update on where it should be working 2 weeks from now.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so yeah, we're really working hard to make it happen and present an end-to-end that is simple and at least addresses the simple cases, no PD and so on. So it's as we said, the code exists. We're just doing a lot of refactoring and integration, and then there is a backlog of a lot of other things that are going to come later. But the simpler thing we want to support as soon as possible. Just giving a heads up that we're also working on a simulator. Simulator is going to be important, one, for testing, two, when you want to test a lot of things in a sort of a big environment with multiple variants and so on, but two, also for comparing different strategies, and when you don't want or when you can't, the spawn of all of these GPUs are costing you a lot of money. This is something that we need to validate first, that it actually gives reasonably accurate results, and we're planning to do it by working together with the benchmarking SIG. I just wanted to just say it's coming, but it's going to take more time. The first priority is to get a simple auto-scaling integrated with llm-d and working for the simple cases.
Makes sense. And just a question, like I know there was some like some objects that were proposed related to like the SLO kind of targets. That work is integrated with, is that work integrated with the auto scaling work, or are those separate streams for right now?
Yeah, that's so that so you mean the SLOs that take into account the TTFT and TPOT, right?
Yeah, like the CRDs that were proposed around, like, allowing.
So I think he's talking about inference scheduling objectives. We are taking a fresh look at the that object in itself. It has, I mean, fresh look meaning it is still in design phase, and we are still trying to get an agreement, as per my understanding.
Okay. And is the like ultimate architecture that will target like have the same like SLO object that's being used by scheduler and by optimizer? Is that like the right mental model?
Yeah. That's the goal. And by the way, I started a document. So we had a discussion here last week about this entire area of SLAs and SLOs across and global objectives across a cluster for a workload, for a cluster, and so on. I started working on a document together with Clayton. So this is something that we're working on. Clayton, if you want to say something about this, but I think that the idea is that it can provide a guidance that we know what personas are defining what, at what level, and with what entity is it associated. So for example, on a workload level, there needs to be there could be SLAs that are client specific, which talk about commitments, but the SLOs is the things that are measurable. So they should talk about the target TTFT, TPOT, drop rate, and so on, the things that are measurable. And then there could be also cluster level objectives that can talk about the level of resource use. It can talk about across the workloads what needs to happen. It may take into account the criticality of the workloads and so on. And I think that when we define that for llm-d across all of the work streams, and we get an agreement about that, then everything else needs to be consistent with that. And then we're not going to have these issues. The issues that we had is that we have work stream specific or component specific, definitions.
Makes sense. I think Vita had her hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think, Tamar, we should have and this going back to Rob about SLO, we should discuss what changes, and we are working on SLO for scheduler. So let's have a decision about the next version, what we can do jointly, what makes sense, because bringing only auto-scaler And I think not adding any SLO support on the scheduler level, it's not the right approach. So I think let's plan for 03 and see what is the minimal functionality that we need to add both adding basic autoscaler, but also adding basic SLO support on the scheduler part.
So the question is, what's the best way to do that? We can schedule a meeting for everyone who is interested just on that topic, or, I can share an initial document or do both. I don't know, because I don't think that there is any one SIG that is actually the right one for this. This is really across SIGs. I don't know what's the preference of people here.
It's a good question. I think let's start with the document, but we should have a discussion with an autoscaler and scheduler 6. But maybe, after we have some initial exchange. Rob, Clayton, what do you suggest?
This may also be a scenario where we want to think about like a specific feature group. We've just like up till now we've been throwing things into SIGs and just saying like SIG does it, but this could be an example. But I agree, Vita. Like I think it's we need to have the discussion about where to put it, and then get the set of folks together and talk about, as Tamar's laid out, some of the high level, make that next level decision about do these together, apart, or as small pieces that build towards a shared.
Okay.
Cool.
Let me take it to work with you guys, Vita, Clayton, Rob, and get a meeting together to discuss this. Okay.
That sounds great. Evgeny, did you have something? Do you have your hand up?
Yeah, just would like to add, there was some document, I believe, that proposed by Google, with definition of inference schedule and objective, where was defined TTFT and TPOT SLOs. And I have a comment that this is something that can be also reused by autoscaler. Probably is a good point here to start from this document.
That's exactly what we're talking about. So when Rob said the SLOs that are defined there, that's what he's talking about. The issue is that we have multiple documents, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and sometimes they're inconsistent, and they were written in a specific way to a component. And that's why we need that overarching work to be defined.
Agreed. Cool. I think we have the next step here, and I'm glad we have this meeting so that we can see that. So thanks for the update and great progress. Let's keep moving just because we're at 7 minutes. I'll give an update on PD DISAG. So we've been spending a lot of time making sure PD DISAG works with all the new kind of objects, as well as with, testing it under load and dealing with a lot of like timeout issues and just various items associated with integrating all of it together. So I think we're in a pretty stable spot at this point, which is nice to see. Been generating some benchmark data. It's also been really great to just use the installer and run like lots of experiments. It's just very cool to see like, all the different configurations, spin up, spin down. So it's been really fun. So that's that. And then on the YDP side, a couple of things. So pod per node. So we originally had been pursuing this architecture of 1 pod per rank, which basically allows, so we have DPEP with this YDP, and basically we want to have 1 pod per rank, and then have the ranks work together to do the expert parallel part. With the 1 pod per rank, we had some pretty significant issues dealing with some of the collective operations inside of the interaction of a lot of the things that VLLM needs with the isolation that the container was providing. So we had been looking at things like running the pod in privilege mode to get around this. But this was interacting very badly with some of the collective ops and other components like that. So we have not been able to get 1 pod per rank working with DeepEP, which is like the most optimized kernel for this. So we're continuing to look at how we can make deep EP work in this context. So this is something Varun from our team is looking at, is like, how can we have deep EP with isolation between the pods? It has something to do with CUDA IPC. So we're continuing to look into this. We also do have an example running this with the PPLX kernels for the collective ops. It's a little bit less optimal than DPP. So we'll have a working example of this. And then as a fallback, we've implemented in VLM support for doing like one pod per node, basically configurations. And so we'll have this running with DPP on, so that we can see the functionality working. So I definitely think the YDP is still, in the light brightness of the paths, YDP is definitely one that's still on the dimmer side, I would say. But definitely making good progress, and we'll have some working examples for the release. So, all right, pass it on to SIG KV DISAG. Maroon, Clayton, anybody want to give the update?
Yeah, so release 02 is out. It's integrated in the inference scheduler. There's a prefix cache example in infra for one of the lead paths. And the release, I don't want to take the rest of the time. The release notes are in the link I included.
Sounds good. Marcio, want to give an update on benchmarking? All right, he might have had to drop off.
I can probably.
My bad. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
My bad. Yeah.
No worries.
Okay, real quick. So support for guided LLM. It was a request. Now we have four harnesses: FMPerf, Inference Perf, guided LLM, PLLM benchmark. We completed our own integration, full integration with llm-d infra plus llm-d model service. So all the new scenarios that are publishing to be already integrated with that. And we have a release v02 because we are automatically taking the latest tags for all the images that we need. So we publish the release. That's it.
Alrighty. With the current benchmarking automation, is this using the old deployer, or has this been migrated to use the new?
Completely migrated to the llm-d deployer, to llm-d infra plus llm-d model service. Deployer was completely erased from the code. There's not even a reference to it anymore.
Awesome. Very nice. All right. And then lastly, observability. I'm not sure if anyone's on. I didn't see. Are you on?
I'm here.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It's the newest SIG. We have a North Star document we're working on refining, trying to determine the roadmap, what we want to accomplish. There's a trace proposal that could use more reviews. Yeah, just ramping up, trying to figure out what's needed, what everybody wants us to do. Bina or Roy, if you want to say anything quick.
No, I think it's we're starting to work. We'll have to work with the other groups on deciding the right metrics to track and how to present them. But hopefully we'll have something in writing first, and then we can move forward from there.
I also want to make sure the metrics collection with the new deployer. I haven't actually used the new deployer, so to make sure that the service monitors and all are still in place. If there is such a thing as a quick start, Greg, I can get with you and find that out.
Yeah, let's sync sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. Anything else folks want to mention? All right.
I had a small thing.
Sorry, Greg.
Can we import some emojis to Slack from like the Red Hat workspace we use? I feel like it would just add character.
+1 on that.
I'll check the permissions to make sure that everyone can upload, because generally, yeah, it's like one of those things. I don't want to have to be the one to upload those emojis, so I'll check on that for you. I'll drop it in the community once that's set.
Thanks.
Cool. All right. Thanks everybody. Have a good one. Bye now.
Thank you.
Bye.